Conor Daly, how things?
Glyn, pleased to meet you again.
We're back again. So, Conor, you work for the Forestry Company?
Yeah, so I work for the Forestry Company. We're based all over Ireland, planting and managing trees for landowners and farmers all over the country.
A farmer now gets on to yourself, is it?
Yeah, so a farmer gets on to ourselves. We'll do all the paperwork. We'll do all the liaising between the Forest Service and ourselves and the farmer, and find out what's suitable for the farmer, what he wants to achieve with his land.
And organising the grants and all that.
Organising the grants and getting him paid, yeah.
So this is a typical example now. So we were speaking off camera that I was thinking, well, I will be doing the agroforestry in a portion of my land. And is this typical that you'd always show a farmer an example of the forestry that they want to choose?
Agroforestry is a new thing to Ireland, really, and it's something people wouldn't be aware of, what they can and can't do in their land. So this is a typical, this is Michael Gleeson. We'll talk to Michael in a second. But Michael has chosen to do agroforestry in his land, and it's him, in fairness, he's done a fantastic job. Yeah. So basically what you see here is agroforestry that's set up for sheep. There's loads. You can do it for cattle, you can do it for sheep, you can do it for hay, you can do it for silage. Yeah. So it all depends on what the farmer wants to do with his land, okay? So here, what Michael has decided to do, it's for sheep. We're in a high deer population. So he's to put, Michael has put on the deer shelter 1.8 metre mesh fence. We might have a look at that. Yeah. If we come over and have a look at that. So you can
they can't get at it.
They can't get at it. You can lift it up. Okay. You can clean underneath it. You can see the trees inside it. Yeah. So that tree is protected. Okay. And the stakes. There's 2 5-foot stakes driven into it as well. Yeah. Now 400 trees to the hectare is what Michael has to get. Okay. So from here to over here, you have an 8 metre strip. Okay. So you can cut silage up and down that. You can graze your sheep up and down that. Yes. You're still farming it.
So sheep can come in and graze here, and you were saying about they can go in and cut silage or hay or whatever. And can people adjust? Say if some people wanted bigger spaces.
Yeah, so that it all depends on what they want to do. If they're doing cattle, then we can have bigger blocks. Yeah. So we can put 18, 32 trees, depending on how they want to do it. Yeah. Fence them up separately. And then they get bigger spaces around that.
Okay, you could put, say if you want wet spot, put a good few trees in that corner and wire them off. Exactly. And then have the space bigger.
Now this system here would not be suitable for cattle, because as you well know, the cattle will make sense.
And what do you do for the cattle then?
We'll go and have a look at that in the next space.
Okay, so perfect.
They're fencing off in separate.
Perfect. Oh mighty, we're going to one of them as well today. So great. So this is.
So what a farmer will get out of this? Yeah. €975 a hectare for 10 years. Okay. And as the trees mature, what will happen is then he'll be able to reduce down the amount of trees on his land. Yeah. So it starts off with 400 trees to hectare. It can reduce down as far as 100 trees to hectare as the trees get bigger. Oh, right. So you're not going to reduce down the amount of grass that's under the trees.
So that's great. And the grants, what grants do you get? You get grants for the fencing and all that?
Yeah, so there's a grant available to secure the perimeter of the place. Okay. Okay, and there's also a grant to pay for the cost of planting the trees. So it's not going to cost you anything. You can either do the work yourself, or you can hire a company like ourselves to come in and do all the work for you.
Looking there behind you, there's a plantation, probably maybe it wouldn't be as quite as ours planted 20 years ago. Wow, that's Sitka spruce there, is it?
Sitka spruce. I suppose that you're talking about, that's 20, 25 years as well.
Yeah. And with the grants now for that, a lot of people, we put it up in upland area, we'll see later on in the video. We did 125 acres. You organised that.
I did that for your dad back in the day,
yeah. What kind of grants are going for them now?
And in fairness, your dad was practising agroforestry back then too. Because he was grazing the sheep inside the trees. Yeah,
the sheep are still there. But no, it is getting on grand, and it is up top of the hill, as we'll see later on. But no, what grants goes for these now?
So that plantation now would be out of grant at this stage because it's too old. So basically,
if you're starting out from scratch,
it's getting ready now for the clear fell. So you need a felling licence. It lasts for 10 years. You need to get your road in place. You need to be getting ready for the final harvest. Yeah. There's good money in a harvest for that. You know, a farmer could be getting anything between 8 and 10 grand into his back pocket after clear felling one of them.
Per hectare acre?
Yeah, per acre.
Oh, per acre?
Per acre, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So there's good money.
So a lot of people will use that as a pension or asset?
100%, yeah.
Do you know, so yeah, that's what we'd be hoping for too.
But planting new type of ground like that, you're talking about €745 a hectare is what they could get, for a spruce plantation.
Okay, brilliant.
On bare ground again.
Brilliant. We'll have one word with Michael there as well before we go as well.
Excellent.
Michael Gleeson, how are you?
I'm good.
You're the landowner here.
I am indeed, yeah.
But you've this planted now since when did you plant this actually? Sorry.
In the early spring this year.
This year.
Yeah.
And this is Fahan outside Killarney here.
Well, Ballyhar, I suppose.
Ballyhar,
knocking over to Ballyhar.
Yeah, we're not too far from Farranfore either, I suppose.
No.
Why did you decide to plant?
Well, I suppose I've always been interested in agroforestry, I suppose, as an item, I suppose, and I am an organic farmer. And
Okay, yeah.
I suppose the key thing was that in previous years I would have had to bring the land out of organics in order to set agroforestry, and that would be a penalty before you ever get going.
Of course, yeah.
So I wasn't too keen on that, but then they recently changed the rules.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Agroforestry ground can now be maintained in the organic scheme, so that was kind of the key change. I suppose what you're looking at here is a 14-acre meadow, a coarse meadow, I suppose, for want of a better way of putting it.
Okay.
And, you know, the options, I suppose, for a field like this is reclamation with a huge cost.
Yeah.
Or just work away the way it was going.
Yeah.
And it's quite a valuable field in my farming system because it provides me with a lot of shoulder season grazing and that kind of thing. So I was keen.
14 acres is a lot too, like.
Yeah. I was keen not to lose the field to the farm either.
Yeah.
So I suppose the agroforestry was to you can develop the trees nice and wide spacing, so you can get access with machinery and access with livestock as well.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to continue farming, not to actually lose much ground at all to it, and also and what I would also do here from time to time is I would harvest. I would harvest coarse hay, and that would be my bedding for the year. For the
brilliant.
Well.
You're organic here, obviously. Can you still draw your single farm payment and your BIS and all that on this land?
Yes, you can. That's kind of one of the key things that kind of attracted me to the scheme, is that you can draw the agroforestry payment, your organic payment, and your BIS payment on the same ground.
So this 14 acres, it is turning a nice few bit of coin all the same. So which you probably wouldn't be making out of the animals out of this field. Would you? No,
well, as the fellow said, I had 4-year ag students from MTU in the field one day, 20 of them, and I said to them, anyone else, before I actually did this, I said, anyone got any proposal that I could do better than setting agroforestry in this field? And all I got back was blank stares. I'd be honest, it was I was kind of a cheeky question, but at the same time, you can see the field. You know, you'll always battle with ground like this.
Of course,
in order to turn it into
we all have that. Like, you
land.
try to spray the rushes and weeds every year, but they'll get the better you no matter what.
Yeah.
So with regards to different species of trees here, what have you planted here?
Well, I've planted a variety of all native tree species, but I've planted a variety of trees to suit the ground. So we're standing on fairly sound ground here. So what we've gone in here is oak and cherry.
Okay.
Oak would be the predominant species that I would have said.
Yeah.
But I've also quite a lot of alder and birch that have gone into the wetter, heavier ground.
Okay, I see,
So birch where it's getting a bit rushy, maybe alder where it's
So even in the one field, you're planting to suit the tree, obviously, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the other thing I've done as well is that under the scheme, you can plant 15% of what they call any other species.
Okay,
any other broadleaf.
Yeah.
And what I did under that was I actually set fruit trees. So there's about 350 apple, cherry, plums and hazelnut trees.
Oh, great.
So down the line, I hope that there'll be Ballyhar Organic Farm
apple pie and everything.
Available in the shops locally.
No, mighty. Thanks, Michael, for talking to us. And all the best in the future. Sound out.
So this is the same thing, Ian. This is agroforestry, but this is agroforestry set up for cattle. As you can see, the cattle are in here.
Yeah.
It's an organic farm. Now, you don't have to be organics to go into agroforestry.
Yeah.
And the difference here is it's set up in pens. So in every pen then you can have 8, 16, 32 trees inside it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the trees are protected inside the pen, obviously, because of cattle, you know, you need a stock-proof fence. So what will happen here is the trees will be left in here for 8, 6, 7 years until they're strong enough to fend for themselves, and then you can take down the fence and the cattle can graze
away around it after.
So if you look at it around the field, you have a 10-metre strip.
Yeah, I'll put up the drone there as well, and you can talk away while it's up in the sky there.
A 10-metre strip of ground in between the plots. You have various different plots down. You know, the cattle can move in and out.
Yeah.
As much as you can cut.
You could cut hair silage if you wanted. Yeah.
It's just a different way of doing it. If you're interested in planting forestry or agroforestry, get in touch with the Forestry Company. We'll be able to explain all your options.
Yeah.
We'll pick a model that'll suit your style of farming. The trees are a great addition. Look, you saw there in the hot weather this summer, every animal we had was heading for shade, like, so it's important to have shade.
That's the one thing we're missing up our way. We have very little shade. Even though we've 120 acres forestry, we've no trees down around the yard. But
well, there's a reason for that. Your father was very handy with the chainsaw back in the day.
He was handy, yeah.
But this is another, and listen, Glyn, thanks for coming out. And listen,
no bother.
This is another way of doing farming.
You're stuck in the forestry business for years. Is there more incentives for people to plant?
In fairness to Minister Healy-Rae, there's a great package of options there for farmers to get involved in forestry.
Yeah.
Whether it's agroforestry, whether it's planting native woodland, whether it's planting commercial forestry.
Yeah.
There's a scheme there for everyone, and an option to plant trees.
And there's plenty of people probably watching this who will inherit in the farm, who will have no interest in farming, and there's a good option for them too.
It's a great way for a family to hold on to the land, plant it, and make use of it. You know, whether you go agroforestry, whether you go forestry, hold it in the family name. And look, listen, if you want to sell it down the road, but hold it in the family name for as long as you can, and that's a great option for you.
So, Conor, we're back here now in Kilgarvan, Barnastuca, in my own farm. This is the plot of land here. I'll put up the drone as well while we're talking, but it's just above the farmyard here, and we'd consider the field as probably a reclaimed mountain, but to be one of our wetter fields, if we call it. And it's very hard to keep the rushes back. But with planting agro here, does that kind of dry up the ground as well because the trees need moisture?
Yeah, 100% that's what's going to happen. So you're going to have about 400 trees to the hectare here at the very start, right?
Right.
And that will, over time, now not in the first year or two, but over time that'll soak up the water out of the field.
Because I have heard farmers saying that it has actually dried up the ground more. And they've actually cut silage in ground or hay that they never have.
And you'll see a big difference here now over the years.
Because the trees obviously need a lot of water.
And so what happens then as the years go on, you'll have 400 trees, but then you start reducing down that number then.
Tinning and so forth.
Because what you don't want to happen is the grass gets, the growth of grass underneath reduces down. So you're trying to balance growing a crop of trees and the grass at the same time.
You can still spread your fertiliser here.
Everything.
Throughout to keep your field as green as you want.
You can spray it. You know, obviously if you're in organics you have to take that into account, but if you're not in organics you can spray it, you can fertilise it, you can do whatever.
We put through a lot of sheep through this ground here now, especially for lambing.
Yeah.
It's fairly open. We're facing the Atlantic Chimera here now, and in the summertime we've no cover at all, and you'd see the sheep and lambs with the tongue out their mouth. So we probably need a small bit of shelter.
It might help if John left a few of them standing back in the day.
Now, as you can see, there's a few trees scattered around, but very, very little, and most of them are our neighbours. But what do you think of this ground here? Is this suited for it?
This is ideal. In fairness, right at the back of the house.
Yeah.
You'll see a big difference here in a couple of years' time. So just to give you an idea of how long it'll take the application, we should have it through in 6 months.
Right.
And then the time of the year, then depending on when you want to go plant.
So get the maps ready, find out how many acres here. I'm actually not certain how many acres here.
Yeah, we'll get the application into the Forest Service. They'll come out and inspect it, and they're very quick to turn things around now.
Yeah. So Conor, what's the next step for me, So
you've taken the big step anyway, and asked a professional forester like ourselves to come out and look at the land for you, okay?
Right.
So we'll sit down with you. You'll draw out a map of what you want. We'll be able to tell you how much your premium is going to be going forward, and that'll be for 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll make an application to the Forest Service for you.
Right.
All that paperwork will go in. We do all that for you. In a couple of months' time, you'll get your approval coming out. We'll come out then and plant it and look after it for the first 4 years for you. So there's very little work for you to do.
I don't want to do nothing, Conor. Will you do all the work?
We'll do all the work. Yes.